It's Tuesday again, and I would like to hang with you lads, but I'm off to listen to the new episode of the Slaven Selection Show. Play now or stay in dark forever.
Some say Christmas is the most beautiful time of the year, and I strongly disagree. Today, it's still the mid-May. Sparrows are bathing in the dust, cats chasing dandelions, and the girls in Toronto are already in the summer edition. Flowers in the parks, ravines and meadows, flowers on flattering fabrics. In the northern American hemisphere, nature has fully awakened in May, and I can feel it all. Trees, flowers, birds, and other sensory delights abound, but one stands out above the others. Fragrance. Scent play a significant role in both food satisfaction and reproduction for a reason. Although humans, particularly men, are primarily visual beings, nothing can stimulate sexual desire more strongly than the scent of the other sex. Saying that the springtime is the most sensual experience of the year, a vast, overpowering, enormous foreplay with someone you have never seen before, would not be overstating the case. Not only have humans experienced it, but I believe all living things have. Yes, I can be cynical. I can say that everything is just the result of evolutionary training in our biological computer systems, which are meant to ensure the survival of the species. But all that reason evaporates in an instant when I smell lilies. The sensuality of flowers and musk, the heavenly focus of agrumes and green tea, and the attraction of leather and tobacco. Every time I smell something like stickers, freshly cleaned concrete stairs, pollution, asphalt, and grass together, or flowers, I get this weird feeling. When I breathed in the salty Mediterranean air or the late dusty summer air from the metropolis back in Central Europe, I always felt like I was taking off. I have the impression that I'm being dragged through time on a roller coaster, and vivid scenarios and visions keep popping into my head. It's more about something I sense from long forgotten experiences than it is about real happenings. And the most annoying thing is when you try to relate your emotions to specific occurrences but are unable to find the connection. It's like in nightmares, when the thought keeps slipping through your fingers and leaving you feeling both frustrated and sad. Scent combinations can be particularly potent. If you're experiencing two or more scents at once, it can be like a perfect emotional triangulation, but you won't fully understand it. You might, I suppose, have a striking déjà vu if the entire package includes visual, digital, and auditory elements on top of everything else in your nose. Like music and lights, remember a popular song from Imagination? That cannot sufficiently describe the sensual charm of the 80s when I was a teenager and I remembered the best things in my life, and it should actually be multisensory, interpreted to everything, not just your nose. It's all together: taste, touch, smell, sight and sound. Besides the 80s classics like Xerius by Givenchy, some of my favorite fragrances are also and forever will be Aramis by Estée Lauder, Terre by Hermès, Rocco Barocco, and my absolutely favorite, L'Eau de Beau made by phenomenal L'Occitane. I won't even bring up how in the middle of the 1990s while traveling to Germany, I fell in love with a girl wearing Sun by Jill Sander. I promise you, I was completely insane. Small wonder it was Pierre Bourton who was the wizard behind so many titans of the perfume industry, including Jill Sander. It has always puzzled me which of these components drew me in the most. Was it African orange flower? Was it palisander rosewood, Amalfi lemon, cassis and bergamot, or ylang ylang? Perhaps it was heliotrope, carnation, orris root, rose and lily of the valley, vanilla, or maybe benzoin, or amber, tonka bean, sandalwood, musk, styrax, tobacco leaf, or patchouli. I love patchouli. It's so 80s. I guess it was a combination of all of them, and yet every time I smell it now, the hazy memories keep coming back to me like a cascade. The perfume industry has a lengthy history, maybe because scents have such power, and according to various sources it goes back thousands of years. Built in 2000 BC, the first known perfume factory was found in Pyrgos, Cyprus. I was in Cyprus a long time ago, and I'm not surprised at all, because the whole island is seductively fragrant. In order to generate scents, ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and China were the first to extract oils from flowers and plants. The Romans, Persians, and Arabs all contributed to the advancement of fragrance. Avicenna, the Persian chemist, popularized the distillation method for extracting oils, which had a profound impact on Western perfumery. Through trade routes such as the Silk Road, Arabian perfumes found their way to European courts. And because of Moorish influences, perfumery expertise arrived in Europe in the 14th century. In 1370, a perfume with alcohol basis was developed for Queen Elizabeth of Hungary. Perfume development centers emerged in Renaissance Italy and 16th century France thanks to the influence of Catherine de' Medici. And the European leather industry flourished in the 17th and 18th centuries, which increased demand for scents to cover up offensive tanning process odors. French towns such as Grasse rose to prominence in the cultivation of botanicals used in perfumes, with the commercial synthesis of fragrance molecules like vanillin in the 19th century. New aromas that were previously impossible to create from natural sources alone were made possible. Natural ingredients like as bark, wood, roots, leaves, flowers, seeds, and resins from plants and trees were used to create the first scents. Important details on the components of traditional perfumery. One of the first uses of fragrance was to burn tree resins such as myrrh, frankincense, and other resins to create incense. Aromatic oils and balms were created by infusing herbs and spices, including peppermint, rose, and other flowers into oils. The Egyptians made their fragrances with natural sources of flowery, woodsy, and fruity scents. Myrrh and incense were typical elements. And during the Sassanid era, the Persians experimented with rose water and other floral distillates in order to extract the smells from aromatic materials like flowers, oils, or fats were frequently soaked in early perfumery. A greater range of exotic spices, herbs, woods, and resins from other regions became accessible as perfume ingredients as trade channels opened up. There are long-standing historical and scientific origins in ancient societies, especially in India, to the pleasure of smells. In Indian society during the Middle Ages, fragrances were essential for gaining pleasure and the perfect romantic life. Through well-defined ritual activities, the intricate and creative use of aromatics was thought to be necessary for pleasing gods, monarchs, and lovers. A phenomenon unique to the West is the growth of the scientific study of sex and sexuality, or scientia sexualis. As Michel Foucault, who was a French philosopher, historian, and social theorist who lived from 1926 to 1984, put it. On the other hand, Foucault presents the idea of ars erotica, which was prevalent in Eastern and Asian societies, and suggests a distinct cultural perspective on sexuality. And then again, there's Giuseppe Visconti di Modrone, an Italian perfumer and businessman who was one well-known European and who made substantial contributions to the study of sense and sensuality. Giuseppe Visconti di Modrone, who was born in Milan in 1888, studied accords, olfactory families, and fragrance structures in order to master the art of creating perfumes. His fascination in creating scents that evoked feelings and sensations led to the development of the term emotional perfumery. Although it's hard to classify them if we are just consumers, fragrances can be divided into multiple broad categories or families, each having unique attributes and symbolic significance. And these include floral fragrances, the odors of many flowers, including rose, jasmine, lilies, and more, predominate in these fragrances. They frequently arouse sentiments of elegance, romanticism, and femininity. Then there are citrus perfumes, invigorating, refreshing, and stimulating. These perfumes have zesty notes of lemon, orange, tangerine. You know, I actually love to wear those like during the day because they're, as the description goes, they're really energizing and stimulating, and I love that during the day. It's like a caffeine, like a little bit like kick. You need that, right? And yes, they're connected to vitality and freshness. And then what I really love, but this is what I would probably put that like in the evening, like woody fragrances. Like woody scents have an earthy, grounded feel and are based on notes from different woods such as vetiver, cedar wood, like sandalwood. They're frequently seen as tough, masculine, and sophisticated. Like, yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would probably say the same thing. Like, then amber, vanilla, incense, and resins are among the rich notes found in Oriental perfumes, which are warm, spicy, exotic, and they create this feeling of mystery, sensuality, and elegance. And fragrances that are also fresh or aquatic, like citrusy one, like those are aquatic, have tones of green, ozonic, and watery notes. They're airy, light, and clean. Also, like, you know, you can wear them during the day, and they're linked to emotions of calmness, relaxation, and purity. Although I don't find them that much relaxing, but that's just me. And then again, there's gourmand fragrances. That sounds funny. These scents, which draw inspiration from edible delicacies, have notes of coffee, chocolate, vanilla, and honey. They might arouse sentiments of nostalgia and are gratifying and decadent. I would also say they're probably they give you comfort, right? It's like a heavy blanket. Through their distinctive note and accord combinations, the many scent family seek to evoke a variety of moods, feelings, and perceptions. Those who are familiar with these categories might select a fragrance that complements their ideal persona or setting. So I always say that there is a general perception reminder that can transport us back in time when it comes to fragrances. But it's also highly personalized. You know, for example, even the greatest fragrance in the world can bring back memories of a horrific experience you had when you smelled something for the first time. I don't know, like the scent of wood smoke has two associations for me. It reminds me mostly of the Mediterranean, where I used to spend my family's evenings curled up by the fireplace and with my grandfather and my grandmother, but it also reminds me of strolling around the devastated towns during the conflict back in the 1990s in the region. So how do we explain all of this? You know, there's a scientific explanation, and someone once described smell as the analphabet of the senses, which was the first time I heard of this quote mark time warping phenomena. But the the actual scientific explanation is they call it odor-evoked biographical memory. And they're stronger and more vivid than other so-called reminders like sound and vision, and they tend to be early memories of your life before when you were 10 years old. And these memories are, as they say, they're more perceptual than contextual. And there's a different way your body processes sight, smell, taste, and touch. Other senses go through thalamus, the part of the brain that sends them to appropriate processing sensors. But smells bypass that, going straight to your olfactory bulb, the smell analyzing region in your brain, and that area happen to be connected to the amygdala and the hippocampus, which are parts of the brain that help handle memory and emotion. Some of the participants in the study led by European scientists showed that some of the participants associated the smells with the memory before they were 10, and some others remember things from they were 10 and 20. Depending on which time the memories fell into their brains, tended to use different regions to recall them, and the earlier memory is lit up the orbifrontal cortex, which is connected to perception. Later ones, on the other hand, tended to activate the left inferior frontal, which handles more conceptual memories. There's this vibration theory of olfaction, which suggests that our perception of odors might be influenced by quantum physics. This theory suggests that by quantum mechanism known as inelastic electron tunneling, our noses are able to sense the vibrations of chemical bonds in odor molecules. Similar to guitar strings, other molecules have chemical bonds that vibrate at particular frequencies. When an odor molecule is present, quantum particles called electrons found in receptor molecules in our noses can tunnel across a gap. Our noses are able to detect differences in the molecular vibration signatures of various odor molecules because they vibrate at different frequencies, and the vibration theory is supported by experiments that demonstrate how even small changes in a molecule's mass, such as replacing hydrogen with deuterium, can affect how it is perceived to smell. Despite this, the shape or lock and key model of smell remains significant, since the vibrations of the odor molecule cannot be recognized until it has attached itself to the receptor. For instance, hedione, a chemical found in jasmine, has a subtle jasmine magnolia smell. And according to studies, hedione stimulates the human pheromone receptor VN1R1 in the nasal cavity's olfactory epithelium. Histidine causes sex-specific activation patterns in brain regions such as the limbic system, motivations and emotions, and the hypothalamus, hormones that regulate sexual behavior. This implies that although pheromone communication is more common in animals, hedione might cause pheromone-like effects in humans. I'm becoming less and less shocked by its potency as I learn more about a time machine we create in our noses by ingesting specific compounds. It makes sense why aromatherapy exists and has the advantages it does. I'm very connected to Earth, and to self-reference or self-paraphrase myself based on the content from the previous episode, my favorite season is my Taurus constellation, April and May. Do not misunderstand me. Although I don't believe in astrology, individuals who are born in the spring are very, very different from the others, because with our very first breath, we took in the big awakening, and we never forget the euphoria it caused. In October and November, the Southern Hemisphere experiences the same thing. I was just in awe of the visual splendor of Japanese cherry blossom and magnolias, but I get even more excited when the scent of springtime molecules reaches my nose. During the month of May, the following flowers are usually in bloom in Toronto: tulips. These well-known springtime blooms bloom from May through June and come in a broad range of colors. Daffodils, often blooming in early to mid-May, daffodils are among the first flowers to blossom in the spring. Then hyacinths in May. These aromatic blooms with closely spaced florets bloom in hues of pink, purple, white and blue. Lilacs in late May. Clusters of purple, white or pink blossoms can be seen on these gorgeous lilac plants. Peonies blooming in pink, red, yellow and white tones. Peonies are a May favorite. They're rich and full. And then irises, known for their unusual form. Irises bloom in a kaleidoscope of hues in May. Then lily of the valley, tiny white flowers in the shape of bells. White flowers have a beautiful scent in May again. However, is there a useful purpose for all of this? And when it comes to the technological future, a possibility, above all, we tend to take our sense of smell for granted. Although many people go through terrible hardships when they are deprived of it, but there is still a lot of hope for those who might have lost their sense of smell for a variety of reasons, such as brain tumors, traumas, or for instance like recent long-term COVID patients. On the other hand, some health conditions can cause phantom smells, but that's another topic for some other time. And given the speed at which technology is developing, smells will possibly soon be digitalized and categorized, accessible to anybody upon request through a computer interface and possibly a home lab that is furnished or equipped with the required equipment. Maybe in the future we'll merely send an electronic code or sequence to our other biological target and not even need to apply fragrance. Odor mimicry might also be helpful for military purposes, but I don't want to go through that. There's too much going on TV these days, and I want to keep it happy. Through ongoing efforts and new technology, scents are being digitalized and communicated, which might allow for the incorporation of scents into digital experiences and interactions. And this is a reference to technology that are able to detect, send, and receive scent-enabled digital content such as VR/AR, websites, games, and movies. No, don't even start with the smell of napalm in the morning. I'm more the scent of a woman type. And in the evening, if possible. So it entails capturing and digitizing smells using tools called olfactometers and electronic noses. Businesses such as OVR technology are creating cartridge-based devices that allow wireless smell transmission to go along with digital material across several platforms. Electrical induction of odor receptor stimulation researchers in Malaysia have conducted experiments wherein electrical impulses are used to directly stimulate the nose's olfactory receptors, so producing a sense of smell. Accurately reproducing complex smells and taking individual variances in smell perception into account are still issues. Well, just to conclude, the technologies that have the potential to digitize, transmit, and even electrically stimulate smell are being explored. However, they're not yet fully realized. This could open up new multisensory possibilities for digital worlds. And again, maybe AI can help us figuring out what is where and how it affects us. And you know how you can always tell the difference between your favorite genuine fragrance and a fake. The same is true for this. Tweaking neurons, altering humans. Sure, why not? Homo sapiens is a history anyway. Books. Oh, the books, the choice. Well, the book The Smell of Books, a cultural historical study of olfactory perception in literature by Hans J. Rindensbacher, and Aroma, The Cultural History of Smell by Constance Classen, David Hose, and Anthony Sinath are excellent additional reading if you'd like to learn more about how smell has been portrayed in European literature over the past 150 years. They look at works by writers like Baudelaire, Huxley, Turgenev, and Susskind's Perfume, which illustrates how smell, which is sometimes disregarded, plays a significant role in Romantic, modern, and contemporary literature. This extensive book examines the cultural significance of scents in both non-Western and Western nations throughout Western history, spanning from antiquity to the present. Topics included include the idea of the odor of sanctity. In medieval times, aromatherapies and olfactory preconceptions associated with gender and race. Robert Mukambalad's book Smells, A Cultural History of Odors in Early Modern Times is also included. The Smell, a very short introduction by Matthew Cobb, touches on the social and historical significance of smell, including its use in literature and politics across cultures. This book, which focuses on early modern times, explores the transformation of smells and their cultural significance during that period. One of the most significant insect pollinators is the bee, which includes bumblebees and honeybees. While visiting flowers to gather pollen or nectar, wasps, butterflies, moths, and beetles also aid in the process of pollination. The glorious spring wouldn't be the same without our surroundings, so we should take better care of them. Though still remarkably low, the number of bees and bumblebees has increased compared to the previous 10 years. Insects are crawling back into existence everywhere, although it occurs much earlier in my European birthplace, but the feeling is much the same. I really hope to see them more and more coming back. In the meantime, turn on Vivaldi's Spring on your gadget and enjoy the most sensory-rich experience of the year. Who knows where we'll be the next springtime? One may always take comfort in the knowledge that eventually we will continue to nourish those lovely trees and flowers, creating a lovely spring for future generations, even if we are gone. All of us will eventually return first to our beloved Earth, then to the stars, and someone else will benefit from the cosmic cycle. Until then, enjoy the Spring Republic, and the next time you go shopping, choose your own favorite scent. This spring, just like any other, it's all about you. Enjoy yourself by going for a stroll through a park, forest, or a botanical garden. You know what turns you on. Concerning yourself with what other people have chosen is not necessary. It doesn't matter if it's citrusy, woody, or musky. You know your favorite olfaction selection, so deeply inhale and stay selective. Bye-bye.